Thank you for joining me. I'm along the Macclesfield Canal, not far from Scholar Green. And this canal was built by William Crosley in the late 1820s. The original design was by Thomas Telford, and it included going around behind what is a beautiful house, still in private ownership. And in order not to spoil the view for these folks, the canal went through a tunnel behind. But then Crosley, who was a good engineer, whoops, Daisy says she falling over, was also a good negotiator. He was able to save about 1.5 miles on the surveyed line. Now, in those days, 1.5 miles would have taken some time to construct, especially if it involved a tunnel, and obviously the cost involved. So, as well as being that good engineer, he must have been a good negotiator, because he negotiated including this fence called the Ramsdell fence. Okay, and this meant that there's a drop on the other side that is described as a ha-ha, or as I used to call it, an aha, but I can't actually see that. There's a lot of brambles, and there's a clear bit coming up. Let's see if it does look like an aha. But an aha is also called a sunk fence, a blind fence, ditch and fence, deer wall. So yes, it does drop down on the other side. Okay, and that would mean that the residents of this beautiful hall could still see across the open Cheshire countryside. Trying to pick out any features and I can't. But it really is a beautiful hall. And I often wonder what people must have done in those days to live in such a place, and what they do in it these days to own such a place. The mind boggles. But the more direct line, it saved time, saved money, and there's now about 500 plus yards of this railing, looking very smart, and it's black and white, off into the distance. And back. But it did fall into disrepair, and the Macclesfield Canal Society joined with Congleton and Macclesfield boroughs in about 2005, and also English Heritage and British Waterways. And actually the whole of the canal is now protected within conservation areas, and the fencing was restored and the stone wall rebuilt, and that was completed in 2010. And the markers, rather than the usual metal ones, they're these rather nice stone ones, though it doesn't tell me any longer how far from where to where, but it will tell me how far from the last one. So here we are, the Ramsdell Hall railings. Across the Macclesfield Canal. Over to Ramsdell Hall. Including tennis court over yonder. Anyone for tennis? So peaceful, quiet. Tranquil is the word that leaps to mind. And the view from the hall across the Cheshire countryside. I don't think those farm buildings would have been there in the days of yore, just a little farm building that could have well belonged to the hall anyway. So on that note, I will wander on. Thank you for joining me. Take care. Bye for now. Bye.